I'm Eddie from Melges, and in this video we're going to go through how to douse your Spinnaker on your Melges 15. First we're going to look at a windward takedown. So that's when the Spinnaker comes in on the windward side of the boat. Once the driver calls for a douse, they're going to bear away slightly to keep the boat flat so the crew can move inboard into the boat. Once the crew moves inboard, they're going to pull all of the slack out of the douser line, which is near their left hand in this shot, while keeping their right hand on the Spinnaker sheet. Once the slack's out of the douser line, the driver can call for the douse. And at that point, the crew will release the Spinnaker sheet and just let the kite go, uncleat the Spinnaker halyard with their right hand, and then pull the douser line as hard as they can. When the skipper calls for the douse, so at the same time that the crew is releasing the halyard, the driver wants to bear away to allow the kite to get onto the weather side of the headstay. And what this does is allows the kite to easily go into the Spinnaker bay. I really like to think about trying to drive the douser patches that are on your kite into the Spinnaker bay. That's kind of how much you want to head down. So if you head up too early before the Spinnaker is completely doused, it could fill again and pull out of the bay. So you want to stay headed almost dead downwind until the kite is completely in the bay. Once the kite is completely down, the crew can push the board down, grab their jib sheet, and get ready for upwind sailing. So the next takedown that we're going to look at is what we call a Mexican takedown. And all that is a jibe and a douse all in one motion. So like your weather douse, you want to make sure that the boat remains flat throughout the entire takedown. And that's really the skipper's job. So as soon as the skipper calls for the douse, they need to bear away to allow the boat to flatten out and allow the crew to move into the boat. Once the crew's moved into the boat, they keep their left hand on the Spinnaker sheet and grab the douser line with their right hand. Once the crew's moved into the boat and pulled the slack out of the douser line, the driver can start the jibe. So they're going to want to steer a little bit faster, but trying to move across the boat in a way that keeps the boat flat. You also want to really focus on your angle coming out of the jibe. You want to be far enough through the wind and close enough to the wind that the kite kind of falls right against the jib and onto the boat, but you don't want to be so hot that you feel like you're going to flip over just from the force of the wind. So as the boom starts to cross your head, the crew can release the Spinnaker halyard and pull hard on the douser line. The skipper wants to focus on keeping the boat at a little bit of a deeper angle out of the jibe than normal to allow the kite to easily come into the bag. You don't want to head up until the kite is into the bag. Once the kite's fully doused, you can then grab your jib sheet and start to trim your main around the buoy. Next we're going to look at a leeward douse. What a leeward douse is when you douse the Spinnaker on the leeward side of the boat. So the key to a leeward douse is to make sure that the driver drives the boat dead downwind at the same time that the crew is releasing the halyard and pulling the douser line. Once the driver calls for the douse, they want to bear away a little bit and keep the boat flat so the crew can move into the boat, grab the douser line, and pull all the slack out of the douser. The crew wants to pull all of the slack it can out of the douser line before you start your douse. Once that's done, they can release the Spinnaker sheet, uncleat the Spinnaker halyard, which is near your right hand in this shot, and start to pull on the douser line as fast as they can. At the same time that the halyard is released, the driver needs to bear away hard to allow the kite to come into the boat. The biggest mistake people will make on a leeward douse is trying to do the douse at too hot of an angle. If you don't bear the boat away significantly, the kite won't come into the boat, it'll just fall right into the water.